of the Senate. The President's approval of the appointment of Justice Mensem followed the recommendation of the Chief Justice of Nigeria in line with provision of Section 238, subsection 4 and 5 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Now, the retiring President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Zainab Bukachua, has called for greater attention to be paid across the country to educate and empowerment of the girl child and women generally. She made the call at the special valedictory court session held to mark our exit as President of the Court of Appeal.
I go away with good cheers, and I pray that the Almighty Allah answers our prayers and grant us the will to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign.
Honorable Justice Zainab Bukachua has remained one of the best legal luminaries that this nation can boast of in our present day and legal chronicle.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has called on state, local government and the business community as well as civil society organizations to collaborate in support of the MSMEs.
These are just a few of the initiatives to ensure an empowering and inclusive business environment for our small businesses. We as the federal government will do our part, but I believe that it's important that we emphasize that we must all work together, both the federal, state governments, local governments, as well as the civil society groups, the business groups, the chambers of commerce. All of us have a bounden duty to ensure that we work together.
And the Senate has approved $22.79 billion as 2016-2018 federal government external borrowing plan. Three states of Kaduna, Katsina and Kogi are to also benefit from the fund.
There is no economy anywhere in the world, anywhere, even developed economies, where debts are not used for growth.
But let me also emphasize here that we are going to follow very strictly how these funds are applied by the executive arm of government, funding the projects.
And the House of Representatives has passed a resolution to investigate the Central Bank of Nigeria and other entities over alleged $30 billion revenue leakage on foreign exchange transactions.
We have huge revenue challenges, to the extent that our budgets are not executed to the latter.
We have to block all leakages possible. There are two types of leakages. There's the negligence-based leakages, but there's also leakages based on acts of deliberate acts of fraud, which is obviously more egregious. And these are the areas that I believe that your committee and banking will be looking into.
A Nigerian who recently returned from France and displayed some symptoms similar to that of coronavirus has been quarantined at the mainland hospital Yaba, Lagos State. Lagos State Commissioner of Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, disclosed this during the daily update on the virus.
Returned 3 days ago, developed headache, but no fever, just headache and some respiratory symptoms. We're not taking chances. There's active transmission going on in France, and so we've isolated him. We're running the test, and we will have that information as soon as it's ready.
And that's the morning news. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kirian and Claire in just a break. I'm Abdul Malik Adio.
Could you please turn on your hotspot?
My lady, play this ball. Hey, hold this guy down.
Password, please.
0808. Baby girl, you are 1 in a million.
Babe, you have a message.
From what? Maybe. Read it out now. Read it out to my ears.
Nobody. Free your mind with Airtel Smart Talk and enjoy calls to all networks at a flat rate of 11 kobo per second. Dial *315# to join.
Fine girl. Can I have your phone, man?
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Not so fast. Look, I'm tired. I want to check out of this country for greener pastures.
Just calm down for a moment. Please sit down. Do you have a job where you're going to?
No, but someone is arranging,
Listen, Alinko. Checking out of this country without proper planning means one thing. Unimaginable begin. You know, I've been in the diaspora, but legitimately doing great things at home and abroad. As I've been saying, without the proper footing abroad, the risk is not worth it. Listen, Alinko, it's better to be home than be trapped abroad or even end up in prison.
Breakfast your day. Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
My name is Giato Adeza Adams, the General Manager, Corporate and Strategic Communications, Nigerian Port Authority. As regards the land borders closure, available statistical data from APMT, which is one of our terminal operators that is involved in container handling terminal, has recorded an increase of 200 TEUs of cargoes into their terminal as a result of cargo diversion from the vessels originally meant for our neighboring countries. That shows you that the terminal operators is going to have an increase in revenue, which is accrued to the terminal, and at the same time, Nigerian Port Authority will equally benefit from the revenue increase. So that is the benefit we have derived from the border closure.
The program is Good Morning Nigeria. Now let's go business. Reviving the ailing business of raffia palm and bamboo value chain in focus on our business news with Chimobi Water Energy.
Raffia palm or rattan and the bamboo value chain is a business that is worth trillions of dollars outside the country, but Nigeria, though blessed with the enormous resources, is yet to tap into this growing global business. The Director General, International Bamboo and Rattan Organization, Aline Chumo, noted that the business in Nigeria needs a bottom-top approach in reviving the potentials of the business so as to add it to the country's multi-million-dollar revenue spinner annually. The organization, which Nigeria is among the 6 member countries in Africa, noted that Nigeria has great potentials in taking over the international market with its indigenous designs.
With the government, how we can increase the involvement of the government in developing this sector, and to raise the awareness of the officials, of the business community, and of the local people to see that there's a lot of benefit that can be derived from bamboo. And I'm sure
this place we are now is not profilable. And the reason why it's not profilable is because it's a green area. So over time, we've really been calling on government to provide an enabling environment for us in areas, provide lands and possibly demonstration center.
Meanwhile, the chairman House Committee on Poverty Alleviation, Abdullahi Salami, while commending the performance of the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency, SMEDEN, on its effort in creating capacity for small and medium enterprises, noted that the agency is positioned to grow Nigeria's SME sector through regular engagement, training and giving of grants where necessary.
Also, and we have discussed, we have interacted with the DG and heads of various departments. Now we agree that we are going to work together for us to achieve the one goal that we are headed to achieve.
And they are also able to see and then to ask in the performance of the 2019 budget and then what we are supposed to do in 2020 and ensure that the agency has implemented the budget as it was approved by Mr. President.
And now to the stock market, where trading has sustained the upward trajectory for the week, inching up by 0.04% at the close of trading Thursday. Here is a graphic representation of closing figures on the floor of the exchange. With business news, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji.
Right, many thanks, Chimobi Walter Naji, for the business package. And time to check trending headline news, and that's coming up in newspaper review right now.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Tebi, is already here in the studio. Bayo, good morning and
good morning,
welcome.
Claire. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Claire.
Yeah.
Good morning, Nigeria.
We're reviewing about 3 newspapers this morning. And let's begin with leadership newspaper. Let's go from top to bottom. Federal government to execute 44 road projects within 150 billion, with 150 billion naira. That's on page 12. Federal government to execute 44 road projects with 150 billion naira. Governors, minister behind my ordeal, Shomole alleges. That's on page 2. Federal government uncovers 70,000 ghost workers. You find details of that on page 10. Now the lead headline on leadership newspaper this morning, PMB appoints Dumban Manson acting appeal court president with 2 riders as Justice Bukachua bows out. NBA calls for appointment of more appellate court justices. Details on page 4. Now, coronavirus, that's the kicker. ACF postpones 20th anniversary celebration. Virus forced me to adjust my birthday plan, says Obasanjo. The story is on page 4. Now, telecoms to invest $1 trillion on 5G networks. Page 13 is where you get details of that report. Now, federal government to begin registration of livestock. It's on page 13. Now, PMB will complete legacy projects in Southeast, says the presidency. It's page 11 of the leadership newspaper for this Friday.
Okay, let's turn our attention to The Nation. Quite a busy front page it has, but let's begin with the lead story. And there are 2 leads there, but the one very boldly written and captioned, it's, and of course, they are after me because of 2023, says Oshomole. And it comes with 2 riders there. Federal High Court maintains status quo. Party chair goes to appeal court, and Fayemi Buhari meet at Villa. Those are the riders that follow that lead story. And just above it, you find a story on COVID and, of course, what it's doing to economies. COVID-19 threatens Lagos-Ibadan rail completion deadline. And it has the rider Nigerian in isolation and return from France. This would make for interesting reading because you see the picture of the Minister of Transportation right there. So the story continues on page 8. And just beside that, you can see, of course, what COVID-19 is also doing, the impacts there. Angola bars Nigerian travelers. You can find that story on the inside. NCAA issues form filling order. And former President Obasanjo says, it changed my plans. And this is the big one. IMF gives $50 billion to battle virus. You can read up the stories on the inside pages 5, 7, and 39. Then let me take you just above the nameplate. Government goes tough with ASU over payroll. Details of that on page 41. No enrollment, no pay. Well, I don't know who is saying that, but we have the picture of the finance minister, of course, emboldened there. You may want to pick up that and check who is saying that. But Boko Haram kills 6 policemen in Dapchi attack. Read it up on page 6. Emir Sanusi, 6 new date to honor probe invitation. Okay, let's quickly take a look at some other trending stories just by the column, my right column, that will be to your left. INEC targets e-voting from next polls. INEC targets e-voting from next polls. Southeast, South to get security outfits. And you see the picture of the APC national chairman in a warm handshake, I want to say, with the president, President Muhammad Buhari, at the villa. And that happened yesterday, of course, with the quote right there. Bayo.
Yeah,
for
let's
you?
start with the update on coronavirus.
Okay.
So far, Nigeria has 1 confirmed case. However, 3 other suspected cases have been identified. 1 arrived from France, the 2nd arrived from England, and the 3rd arrived from China. The Commissioner for Health, Lagos State, Professor Akin Abayomi, says the 3 are in isolation, are the pending test of their status. The 3 are in a place called the Holding Bay. After their tests come out, if the test positive, then they will be moved into isolation and treatment will commence. However, if the test returns negative, they will be allowed to go home.
And no quarantine for them? No 14-day or self-isolation?
For now, they are in isolation, and they will continue to be in isolation until the test, if the test comes out and it is negative.
How long will that should be?
That shouldn't take long because we have a very reliable test center in Lagos, another in Irua, and another one in Abuja. That won't take long. However, the emphasis is to show that there is only 1 confirmed case, the importer from Milan, who is said to be improving gradually. Although some reports indicate that he has gone into depression, I'm not too sure. That has not been confirmed by the commissioner.
We have not, yes, the commission, the Lagos State has not confirmed that.
So far, the 3 cases are only suspected cases. They are subject to investigation. If they test positive, they will be moved into isolation for treatment. If they test negative, they will be left off the hook and they will go home.
Is that as a result of the temperature, the high temperature being detected? Because on the foreign media this morning, we hear that, as soon as, your temperature reads higher than 38 and all that, you're not even allowed entry.
Yes. In some places, yes, above the normal, you are a suspect. You recall that Pope Francis had a cold. And there was suspicion that probably it could be coronavirus because he was out in the audience in Italy where there's a high rate of some infection. And there was anxiety. However, when the test came, it showed that he was negative to coronavirus.
There are many other flus, around. Normal cough we have, normal sneezing, and normal, attack on the upper respiratory organ that we have. The idea about, anybody who tests with a high temperature to be quarantined is very apt, at this point because of the way the virus is infecting people, So the most important thing that they've been able to do is to put those 3 people in check. By the time result comes out, they're free to go. Because one, if they had anything corona in them and result, reads negative, there's no point keeping them there.
I didn't have time to go to the inside page to find out why Angola is buying Nigerian travelers.
Again, it's part of the false alarm because they know that there's a reported case of an incident in Nigeria, and so they were trying to place if anybody coming from Nigeria, put him in check or maybe stop them from coming at all.
Bayo, again, we must be careful how we treat this issue so that we don't descend into racism. Because by the time you begin to profile people, and all that,
I think they are trying to be careful and they are raising an unnecessary alarm. It's not everybody that is in Nigeria that is infected with coronavirus.
Exactly.
So far, we have one, and it came from Milan.
And not every Chinese is also infected with COVID-19.
But the consequence is already telling on us. You recall that the Lagos-Ibadan Railway was meant to have been commissioned in April by Mr. President.
Yes.
Now, most of the workers belonging to the Chinese Construction Company Corporation who had gone home for the Chinese New Year are stuck in China. Yes. So they are not back, and therefore the rail project is kept on hold.
Yes, and
they were expected to have completed that in April and continue the one from Lagos to Kano on the standard gauge. But all that will have to be on hold.
The spread of coronavirus is getting to a pandemic point, because in Italy, for instance, schools have been closed.
Yes.
Gatherings have been closed, all schools in the next 1 month, right? And of course, in even football encounters, some of them have been moved. I've been playing behind closed doors, if you like, So it's really, I don't blame any country really that is going extra mile to take precautionary measures, because if it comes in, it has come, and if it gets there, if it gets one person and care is not taken, many more are going to get it, especially family units. Right. If someone who has it now comes home, meets his family members, children, wife, and all that, cousins or nephews, as the case may be, it is moving. So it has to be stopped. I don't blame Angola.
Yes, and the frightening aspect of it, of course, Bayo and Kieran, is the impact it's having on economies. And I hear in some parts of the world where it's going now that people are now working from home. Schools, like he said, schools are short. You can imagine the Minister Amechi saying, of course, that he's afraid that the Lagos-Ibadan rail project would be delayed, of course, beyond the scheduled completion time as a result of that. In fact, he said many workers handling the Lagos-Ibadan rail project are stuck in China because of the COVID-19.
Yeah.
The other story that is dominating the papers too is the order from a federal high court in Kano restraining the Independent National Electoral Commission from recognizing anybody other than Comrade Adams Oshiomhole as the national chairman of the All Progressive Congress. This is sequel to an order ex parte that was filed in Kano. Now, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole is saying that the interlocutory injunction filed at an FCT High Court restraining INEC, Inspector General of Police, and the DGDSS was an order given to federal agencies, and an FCT High Court has no business giving such order. It should have been a federal high court that should give such orders. But the order from the Kano Federal High Court is directed at the Esako local government that initially suspended Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, therefore ordering them to maintain the status quo. Lawyers
at the world level?
Yes, at the world level. To maintain status quo at the world level. Their action was that they have suspended him as a member of the party, and based on that, they were speculating that he cannot continue to be chairman. So the status quo ante is required that they should not do anything about removing him at the world level until the ex-party motion is determined. But lawyers are confusing us.
Yes.
They are arguing that the last status quo ante was the order of the
court
of the
FCT court. Precisely.
Court in Jabi, and they are saying that court has no business giving an order to federal agencies. It ought to have come from the federal high court. Well, lawyers, for every issue, lawyers will tell you there are two sides of an issue, and they will always argue. Let's wait. The court will sort things out.
My worry about such litigations is the fact that some of us who are not learned gentlemen and ladies may not be properly carried along, because from all indications, or Adams Oshomole is currently embattled. And if I were him, the best thing to do is to talk to your people. He says, governors, minister behind my ordeal. So it's not just a world issue. It has gone beyond the world to extend to governors of the same party, where you are the chair. So it's important that, he goes back home, does his homework, make necessary contact and try to, reconcile the situation.
Well, yesterday he had actually gone to brief the president after the court in Kano gave his order. And he speculated that a minister and some governors are after him. And he says that nobody can remove him except God. It must also be added that if you remember, November 2014, I think it was the same situation, whereby he too had to come out to say that he was not behind attempts to remove the former chairman of the party. So
okay.
You never can tell. Politics, anything close.
Bayo, okay, let's look at the editorial, which is also an interesting editorial piece this morning, and it's taken from I think National Economy. I don't get the name of this paper. I hope.
Economy.
Yes, National Economy. I'm right. And it's boldly captured, as you can see, fallacy of non-viable states. He says fallacy of non-viable states. Let me quickly. Well, what he's saying is that they should begin to harness their assets to boost internally generated revenue and, by extension, boost the national economy. And there are quite a number of states that this paper says are not able to meet up. It boils down to socio-political crisis, insurgency, and all that.
Yes. Can I quickly draw attention to a story I'm sure will interest you? Justice Akoni Ekpeme, after acting as Chief Judge of Cross River State, has been refused confirmation, and another justice has been sworn in. This is basically because her state of birth is Akwa Ibom, but she was serving in Cross River. This is in spite of the fact that her husband is of Cross River State. The Cross River State House of Assembly declined to confirm her appointment, and therefore Governor Yade had to look for another acting judge.
So, Bayo, what do you want me to say about that?
Well, I'm sure it's of interest to you.
It's been debated.
Yes.
It's been debated.
In fact, if I remember correctly, there was...
Yes, quickly say something about the editorial so that we can just...
It's talking about many states are not viable. And the editorial points out to a few states, Lagos, Ogun, Kano, Kwara, and Rivers, that are, through their IGR, can be said to be viable. Many others will have to depend on federal allocation from the federation account to survive. And what he's saying, therefore, is that these unviable states must look for a means of enhancing their internally generated revenue. The doors are now open with the diversification of the economy. There's hardly any state in this federation that doesn't have sufficient solid minerals that it can fall back on. Landmass for agriculture. So solid mineral agriculture, that is the way to go for diversification.
Over the years, this has been debated. There's no, when you say that a state is not viable, yes, we agree to some extent. But then, what are the governors doing? Apart from some constitutional issues, that may not allow them to tap into mineral resources in their states, there are other viable ways. Okay. Agriculture is there, right? Which I can embark upon, and sorry, the dependent, highly dependent of governors on monthly federal account it promotes laziness.
This is an interesting topic we could look at, but for now, Bayo and Kiran, I think we just have to leave the viable states at that and then get on with our conversation today. We're looking at, of course, the women and national development. We've got a full house, so we'll just take a short break, and when we come back, we'll introduce our guest. Don't go away.
Have love. We'll be able to unite, irrespective of tribe, religion, and culture. So we keep preaching on love. That is the only binding force. Let us love ourselves, irrespective of where the person comes from.
You are about to witness the commencement of the most stimulating and compelling contest on television. This contest is only for the strong, the intelligent, and the talented. Get ready for the Unity Challenge reality TV show. Coming soon.
Engineering skills and technology define the quality of television transmission output. Training and retraining of appropriate personnel on the management of modern equipment is therefore a key competition strategy in the dynamic television industry. NTA TV College, Jos, invites relevant desk officers to special engineering courses as follows. 1-week course on audio engineering, operations and maintenance. Date 20th to 24th April 2020. 1-week intensive course on electrical power, earthing, lighting, uninterrupted power supply UPS, inverter and solar system. Date 1st to 5th June 2020. 1-week intensive course on studio broadcast equipment and outside broadcast operation. Date 15th to 19th June 2020. 1-week course on new technologies, optical fiber, IP technologies, automation storage and wireless technology. Date 10th to 14th August 2020. The venue for all courses is NTA Television College, near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. Course fee 40,000 naira per participant. Accommodation inclusive. For more inquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos. Training you to be the best you want to be.
We have 30,364 individual, 6,437 household.
Boko Haram ya koro mu daga garinmu wanda ake cewa Doron Baga.
The government has done a lot of things. Some corporate bodies have also done a lot of things, but there's still a lot to be done.
When I was pregnant, I worried you would look like your dad. But look at you. After 6 months, I worried about the right foods to give you. Now you've grown so much, but doctor says anemia can affect your growth and slow your learning.
Mom is right. 7 out of 10 kids in Nigeria suffer from iron deficiency, which can cause anemia. 1 meal of Cerelac Junior with Iron Plus provides 50% of your child's daily iron needs to support proper growth and learning.
That's reassuring. Cerelac Junior with Iron Plus. It's all good, Mom.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Our conversation this morning borders on women and national development. And to set the tone for our conversation, let's get this background report as put together by Victor Azu.
Women all over the world are making their marks in different spheres of life: business, education, the arts, sports and politics, to mention a few. When given the opportunities, women have given their male counterparts a run for their money. Nigerian women also do likewise, but clearly play second fiddle to their male counterparts. It is, however, in politics, which is widely regarded as a major vehicle for national development, that women have been in the shadows of men. For instance, in Nigerian politics, no woman has ever been elected governor of a state, let alone elected vice president or even president of a country. In the National Assembly, out of 109 senators, only 8 are women. It is even worse in the House of Representatives, where there are only 13 women out of 360 members. This has led to many advocating gender equality, but the questions to ask are: what factors hinder women's role in national development? How can women become more relevant in the country's political terrain, especially? Who better to provide answers than women themselves? And some of them are already seated in the studio to do just that.
All right, Victor Azu, many thanks to you. And let's begin our conversation this morning on women and national development. Of course, as we said earlier on, this is against the International Women's Day, which is coming up on Sunday, I guess, on the 8th of March. So let me quickly introduce our guests here in the studio. Let me begin with the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talent, who's always obliging us whenever we call on her. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for joining us. We also have with us another friend of ours, distinguished Senator Khairat Gwadabe. She's always here with us. She represented FCT from 1999 to 2003. I'd like to welcome you most respectfully. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
And I have with us here in the studio Comrade Afusat Shuaibu, who is also the National Chairperson, Trade Union Women Congress of Nigeria, Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
You look
Good
lovely
morning,
in your green and red.
Oh, thank you so much.
Kieran.
All right, ladies.
Let me cede to you.
All right, ladies. Still with us here in our Abuja studio is Ebere Ifendo. Ebere Ifendo is a women's right activist. Ebere, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And again, we have Deborah Akan. I hope I got that correctly. Deborah is an educationist. She's, of course, of the Hope Waddell Training Institute, Calabar, Cross River State. It's a pleasure to have you here, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
All right. And from our Just Network Center, we have Bukola Onishi, Country Director, Women for Women International. It's a pleasure also to have you this morning on our show.
Morning, Nigeria.
Just to add, Kieran, that Ebere is also President Women in Politics Forum.
Okay.
Get on.
Go ahead.
Okay. Ladies, let's start the conversation. First of all, let's define the role of women in national development, really, because that's the topic of our conversation. And let's begin with the Honorable Minister. When we talk about, women in national development, what do we understand by that? How do we say it?
Thank you very much. The word women in national development the role of women in national development cannot be overemphasized. Even from creation, you know that when God created man, he saw that Adam could not function. And there is nothing that a man can do that a woman cannot really do, if not better. And women constitute over 50% of the population. If the woman is left out, then half of the population is forgotten. It means the country is disabled. It's like a scale where it's not balanced. If over 50% of the population that are women are neglected, then the scale is hanging. The role of women in every sphere, starting from creation, the mother is the first teacher. She teaches the child to speak, to do everything, nurtured the child from birth. She carries the child for 9 months. I'm yet to see a man that can carry and incubate a human being for 9 months. You don't know what women go through in pregnancy. Nurturing the child for 9 months. That means that child communicates with her, only the mother, for 9 months. The father has no role once the child gets in. It is the mother. Her breathing, the food she eats, everything she communicates with the child until she brings him into life. From birth, sleepless nights, at least for 2 years. Before the child goes to school, it is the mother that communicates. So the first teacher is the mother. And we all know the role of a teacher in nurturing and shaping that child right to adulthood. But the first teacher is the mother. And that's why if anything goes wrong, the teacher runs back to the mother. Because the home, socialization, home has a very critical role to play in the life of a child. And that is the mother. The mother is key. The mother teaches the child to speak, to behave, discipline, everything. So all our leaders today must pay tribute to mothers because they cannot be where they are without the proper upbringing and nurturing of a mother. If a woman can nurture a child from incubation up to adulthood, she shapes, she directs the child, everything. The home itself, the complete coordination of the home is the woman. Ask any man, if a mother travels and leaves him with the children for 2-3 years, 1 week, he is completely disorganized.
Should we take the question?
Ask him, he will confirm that. So, if a mother can do that, coordinating the home, bringing the child, preparing the child before school, The language the mother speaks to the child is the language the child speaks. The father has no much time. So all these things are things that is divine, and God has given that special role to a woman. If she can do that, nurture, bringing him up, what else can she not do?
All right, Honorable Minister, let's pause you there. You've made a very
That
valid...
is just a tip.
Yes, you have made a valid point in the starting from the family unit, which is very, very pivotal.
Key.
Yes, you said that Adam couldn't function effectively.
Yes.
Well, fine and good,
He
but
could not talk.
what
He could
happened
not smile.
after that is another
Until
discussion.
God created the
Another
woman.
day. What happened after that is another discussion we may have on another day, right? Because you see, we pay much attention to women, because God has made it so. That's agreeable. But now we're talking about women in national development. Let's leave the family unit now, and I'm coming to you, Senator Kairat Gwadabe. With respect to national development and women, what's your take on what have been the contribution of women, not just in the family unit, but in other facets of national development?
Well, first and foremost, we have to begin to understand and recognize women's involvement in national development. And to start with, like the Honorable Minister says, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Without nurturing, you do not have the men that will come into national development to even hold the offices. For me, I feel over the years, you can divide national development into private sector as well as public sector. When you look at how does private sector impact on the global national development, you will now look at what are the indices, where are the women, who are the key players in injecting development at the private sector. When you look at the private sector, we start from petty trading, they call it. Anything women do, you have more derogatory, excuse for lack of a better word, language to use to explain it. The women that buy and sell at lower income level, they're business women as far as I'm concerned, and their input to the gross domestic product of the nation is not properly recognized. Yet they're the ones that constantly, they also pay their taxes, mind you, and they're the same women who farm, bring the farm produce to the markets, sell their farm produce, and may not even get the quality of value for what they have brought in. However, they're contributing directly to funds that go into national development. If you take it a notch higher, you have the women, you have the sector that is in charge of, at the transport sections of the nation, people moving, people responsible for carriage of goods and persons. In that sector, the users of that sector are largely women, because they're the ones that are heavily involved in moving their farm produce. And in that same sector, because the society feels that women, that sector is a risky business, they don't encourage women into the sector. But increasingly we're seeing women participating, driving all sorts of vehicles. I've run into women that are now driving trucks and so on. That's that sector. We've come across women that are pilots, if you take it to the higher notch. Now, directly, the societal norms that have barred women from coming into direct participation that is visible into, is being broken down, and thankfully for that. Now, when you now take the private sector higher, you're now going into the sector where you're going to white-collar and blue-collar jobs. And in the white-collar and blue-collar jobs, you find women, but originally were secretaries and clerks and tea ladies. They're directly, in an office, when you don't have, before the age of computer, if you don't have a good secretary, you cannot function. Because whatever the minutes are, whatever letters you want to write, you cannot. So women have consistently held that position, so much so that it's taken it a notch further. Some bosses find they end up marrying their secretaries because they now realize she's so efficient and dependable. They want to move her from that to run his home for him so he can advance more. Now that's direct women involvement at that level. Take it a further notch. In the boardrooms, increasingly now, chairmen of banks are women.
Distinguished, let's put you on hold and bring in Ebere Ifendo, who is the president Women in Politics Forum. And Ebere, I'd like you to, take us down memory lane and look at how much involvement or how involved Nigerian women, have been since independence. And tell us, is there any aspect of national building or nation building where the women have shown some form of partisanship? Or been passive, let me put it that way.
No, I don't think so, because the independence struggle of this country, we had our women in the forefront of it. And even prior to independence, we had women in, I think in 1929, who stood up against the colonial masters. So you can see that from the beginning, we have participated actively. And even up to this time now, we even have young people that are participating from the university angle. So in every sphere of political life of our development, our women have never shied away from coming out to be part of governance and to be part of development of the nation. You introduced the distinguished senator as having represented us from 1999, and that was the year we, returned back to democracy. And the honorable minister started her career as a councillor. She would have made it to be the first elected female governor in Nigeria. And today she's also a second-term minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So you can see our history. There are other women outside there that are not with us here. And so for me, I think we have done well against all odds, because the environment is not conducive because of a lot of patriarchal issues, a lot of mistrust. People see women as trying to come, to take over, not understanding our rules, that we need to be part of governance, to have a balance. We are talking about our economy today. We are talking about so many challenges coming up to security also. And I think the basic problem is not having more women in governance. Give a woman an opportunity. I tell you, there will not be insurgency in Nigeria again. We have a natural way of doing things. Some of these people need to be cancelled. Some of these people just need to be reached out to. We are not doing that. It's not always that you use force, to get things done. So I think the basic problem we are having is not the problem of, it's basically the problem of not getting women involved.
If you look at a democratic dispensation,
yes,
from 1999 to now, we've come a long way. Within this framework, can you place the Nigerian woman? How much value has the Nigerian woman contributed to sustaining the democratic setup?
Our participation alone is a huge... Like I said yesterday at the program, I said this last 2019 elections, if we're going to use it to mirror, we had 2,970 women that came out to contest. Not even in America have you had such huge number of women contesting elections.
But that's just participation.
It's not just participation. They contested as candidates. And before one could walk to that level of getting a ticket of a political party to run an election, it's something that you have to, like Oga Kerian said, we'll talk about in, subsequently. Okay. But the truth is that we have participated. We have made our marks.
All right. I'm indeed gladdened, because people are talking from the positive point of view of impact you have made, in the polity and the other aspects of our life. But again, women also complain a great deal in terms of not being given opportunities to do one or two things. We'll get to that. But for now, let's bring in
I'm a woman.
I know. Sorry about that. Let me get Deborah Akan, who's an educationist. Now, coming from the academia, what is your assessment of how women have fared over the years, in that sector? And of course, if you can, drift to some other areas. But let's begin from the academia.
Okay, let me correct an impression. I'm not just an educationist, I'm an ordained minister of the Word and Sacrament of the Presbyterian Church of Nigeria and the national coordinator of the Women's Guild. That's a women's group. I always know that the society, not just Nigerian society, but society as a whole is patriarchal. And for a woman to excel, she has to go the extra mile. And you find that in career, in politics, there are lots of challenges for women because the men would not like to give them a chance freely, and that's the truth. And so they have to go the extra mile. They have to work harder than their male counterparts, even in career. And there's this notion that if a woman excels in career, it's not merit. She has done some untoward things to get to the top. But that's not true. Women have actually done well, but we can do better. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. I think personally, because women relinquished their roles as mothers, that's why we have a lot of societal ills today. But there's this awareness now, advocacy that we should go back to the drawing board. We should go back to our God-given roles to nurture the young ones. And nurturing starts from birth, not just when the child is grown and formed. And if we get back to that, we'll find that the society will be better for it. In the Nigerian society, for instance, there are so many societal ills which can be curbed if women are at the forefront. I always admire women that come out to contest, that come into politics. From the religious sector, I may not contest, but I admire women who do and encourage them. For instance, my elder sister was a politician, striving to get to the governorship position. And I always admire women who do that. There was a lady that came out to run for presidency in Nigeria, and there were a lot of ridicule, even from women ourselves. And I think women need to reorientate their minds, because what you find is that even though we are more in terms of population, we find that we don't support our women folk. A woman comes out to contest, it's the women that will actually work against them. We need to get to that point. We are women, appreciate women. Otherwise, we cannot get to the presidency of Nigeria, and if we get to the presidency, I tell you, this country will be better for it. So in terms of the role of women in national development as of today, I think women have pushed themselves amidst all odds to get to positions of influence that they can actually impact. And we have a number of them, even though there are few, we have a number of them that are doing that. Like my colleagues here that have spoken, I admire them when they are functioning at the Senate level and at the House of Reps, are functioning at the judiciary, so many like that. But I know that we can actually do better.
Okay, let's put you on hold, Madam Akan, and we'll come back to you also. And we're happy that you represent the religious body here for us, because a lot of women also, have issues, with representation and opportunities in that area. But let me bring in Comrade here. Comrade, just share with us your experience. The distinguished talked about, patriarchal system, being broken down. Ebere also mentioned that there are certain things that needs to give way. So are we really breaking down cultures in terms of, giving women the chance, to build?
Thank you so much. I think we're really doing that, but a lot needs to be done because as women, we occupy an indispensable first in nation building. And all of this cannot be achieved without empowering the women and the girl child.
But what's your experience? You're a comrade, so I expect that you would have, been championing certain, courses for women.
Yeah.
Yes, could you just share with us what's the scenario like?
Yeah, it's always very tough. The men are not always wanting to have us on board, but I tell you, it's a moving train.
Why is it that they don't want to have women on board?
Yeah, because they don't believe in us, and they think we're going to overpower them, and then
go ahead.
They always don't want to give us a chance. You understand? But I want to tell you that as a woman, we have really made a reasonable, we've achieved a reasonable percentage of success, and we're encouraging more women to come up. We need a voice, we need a platform where we can have more women, on board. But the men are always not wanting to have us. We're always being relegated to the back seat, to the background. Reasons best known to them.
But have we been able, Kirian?
See, you can't say that we are relegating you to the background when you are a comrade who have, you have reason, to be the chairperson of Trade Union Women Congress of Nigeria. What I want to hear from you, ladies, is not necessarily what men have been doing. What about your own efforts? The efforts you have put in. Madam Deborah told us here that most of, or some of the time anyway, women work against each other, right? And we have seen in this country where when a woman ran for president in this country, and she was the only person that voted for herself. It was in the public glare, it was covered live, right? So that's another part of it. Before we come back to you, let's go to Bukola. Sorry, we'll come back to you. Let's go to Bukola Onyishi in Jos. And Bukola, please, I want you to bring in international dimension to this conversation. Basically, because you represent an organization that has a international footprint. What's your own view about women in development in Nigeria and elsewhere? I want you to bring in this comparison because we want to appreciate the level women has gone in Nigeria and what happens elsewhere, globally. What's your assessment?
Interestingly, good morning, everybody. Interestingly, Women for Women International works in conflict-affected countries, and meaning that we work with women that are affected by conflict mostly. I'll tell you that in the 8 countries that Women for Women International works in, the situation of women are rather similar. The context may be different, the context of conflict may be different, but in terms of the challenges that women face, very similar. But what we do is to provide forums for empowering all the women that we are able to support in the program. And in support, I mean, in the context of Nigeria, for example, we work in the grassroots, in the rural communities, and you discover that perhaps just 30% of the women we work with have even primary school education. And remember, we are talking about rural communities. We need to look into what form of education do we have in the rural communities. When we say a woman has finished primary school education or a young girl finished primary school education in the rural communities, what does that look like in the real sense of it? And then we have a lot of situation around early girl-child marriage. And we are talking about women. The same child that is married half early becomes the woman tomorrow. as a child, as a girl child, a lot is missing. And then she steps into a totally new role, a role that she's not ready for, a role that is very challenging in itself, even for the women, or even for the adult women. But these are the realities that are in our communities. And then all the things that we have talked about this morning, how do we expect these women to step into this role? I look at some of them and I say, perhaps if they were given the opportunity to be well educated, they would become anybody in life, successful people. Because with the little that we've given them in terms of knowing your right, in terms of learn about your health, decision making, form solidarity amongst yourself, give a voice to the situation around you, look for solutions, and challenge status quo. Whether we agree or not, it is a fact that in our society, the patriarchal system is very strong. And that is why even in our context, we also try to bring on the men. Because I also believe strongly that if men know better, then they would also want to take better decisions around situations around women. If you look at it critically also, look at the population of Nigeria. It's been discussed. It's almost 50-50. If it is 50-50, then if 50% of the population is disenfranchised and it's just 50% that is trying to carry the nation, don't you think the 50% is also overworked and overstretched? And that in itself, it's a problem, because then you see the result, violence against women everywhere, every day, from the grassroots even to our headlights. It's the same problem. So I believe that there's a whole lot that we need to do with a girl-child education, with situations around early marriages, with also educating the men, and then violence against women is something that we must work against.
Onyeshi, Country Director, thank you. We'll return to you. But ladies, Kieran said something about women and themselves. I'd like for us to look at this, bury it once and for all, so that it will not rear its head again. I'm sorry, Kieran, I'm also a woman. So let's look at this issue. Have we been able to streamline, delineate what are the issues? Women, their own issues, Honorable Minister?
Thank you very much. We have issues everywhere. And I don't want us to spend so much energy on talking about women being enemies of themselves. Men have enemies among themselves, but nobody talks about that. When a man is contesting, he has men fighting him too. So the issue of women having issues with themselves, we are addressing it very squarely. Yes, we know it's true. We are addressing it. But the role of a woman in national development is key. Tell me any field of life, from market women who play very key roles, from motherhood. I started with motherhood because no building can stand without a solid foundation. So we must still go back to the basics.
But what specifically are the issues? Apart from, you've said the issue of women themselves are being addressed. So we are moving forward on that.
Yes.
Irian,
We are moving forward on that. We have realized that and we are addressing it very squarely.
Okay, so
we need to love ourselves and address our issues by ourselves. I wish you watched our program yesterday. Part of the activities to celebrate the International Women's Day. From morning till late in the evening, we were on from one activity to the other. And we are not just coming out as women.
You need a glass of water?
Even the National United Nations has realized it. And we are not advocating the he for she. We have men champions who are supporting and speaking to support women issues. Women have been talking to themselves over the years, and we are not making a headway. United Nations has realized it, we have realized it, and we are carrying the men along. The men who are our sons, our husbands, our brothers, know the important role we play. And there are certain men who know that without women, effective national development cannot be achieved. And we are beginning to see it at the state level, at the local government level. Let's take, for example, at the state level. And we are also encouraging them. At the state level, among all our governors, we have a champion, a key champion, and that's the governor of Kwara State. He has set an example that no state has ever. In the history of Nigeria, we've never had it. And because he believed in women, he knew the role women played for him to get into that office.
So what's the example?
The example is he's involving more women in governance. And watch and see the difference and the achievements the governor of Kwara State will make compared to all other states. The same with Lagos State, the same with Kaduna State, the same with Ekiti State. The same. Other states are following, are keen in, because they know that special role a woman can play.
Okay, ma'am.
The eyes, what a woman sees, no man sees. Our role is complementary. I want the men to get it right. Yes. We have this men champion who realize and know, and they are speaking out. Yesterday, we had men champion who spoke in favor of women. The girl-child education is key and top on my agenda. Without addressing the girl-child education, we will just be going round. Because an educated woman can be able to solve and sort out so many things.
Okay.
From the home to any level.
Any level. Oh, okay, Honorable Minister.
And that's why I commend, you see, at the traditional level, the Emir of Kano is already, he has set a pace. And I call on all our traditional rulers to key in, because he is a champion of the girl-child education.
All right, man. Thank you so much. You know, actually, why the issue of women fighting each other has always been highlighted is the fact that, one, already there's this complaint that you are a disadvantaged gender, you know, when it comes to the things of life, you know. Yet, you have this fight. So it's going to be a kind of a double jeopardy, you know, for you. So that's why we are highlighting. So by the time you begin to help yourself, then the men will have little or nothing to, you know, to do much, just to give you an opportunity. That's what you are looking for. Gentlemen, ladies, you know, I'm the only man here, so I feel sandwiched, you know. Yes. Let's look at the conferences we've been having over decades now. You know, we've had the Women Conference of Copenhagen in 1980. We've had that of Kenya in 1985. We have Beijing 1995. I've also had another conference again on women. That's in Mexico in 1975. Well, some of these conferences, you know, they're supposed to mark a turning point, you know, in policy making and of course implementation of so many nations across the world. I want us to see how the outcomes of these conferences have been able to, you know, yes, impact positively on women participation in politics and other facets of human life. I want to bring in Senator Kairat here, you know, who has already had a political experience and who I'm sure, you know, belongs to some organizations, you know, that are fighting for women's rights.
Well, first and foremost, the fact that women decided to have global meetings is a plus for the movement towards national awareness in respective countries that the women need to be involved in governance and moving the country forward. The plus, because at the key meeting, I think is the Beijing conference, set the tone towards what nations should be doing. For me, when you have a national conference like that, and there's an agenda that comes out of it, you shouldn't take it hook, line, and sinker. You bring it to your nation and adjust it to your own peculiarities, and then move forward with it. With the Beijing conference, if I will take it from there, that was the period we had, I think, Abacha, Mrs. Abacha around, if I'm not mistaken. After the Beijing conference, she took a stand. This is military rule. And that's when they took a stand. Let me go back to IBB, Mrs. Mariam Babangida. She took a stand in our country to say, look, we must bring women forward to be part of governance. Take them out of where they are hiding or staying and bring them to the fore. And she brought the theme, which is Better Life for Rural Women. And it took us far, but not far enough with its, it was like almost an affront on the cultural situations we had. And as such, we were faced with resistance in many sectors, because how would you bring women to the national front? And many women didn't understand it. Some of them saw it as a period to be flamboyant rather than push issue and follow a certain direction. Then we saw the advent of Mrs. Mariam Babangida, Abacha, and she changed the tune and called it family support. Now, she now figured that we can bring women involvement and advancement within the family unit and move her with her family to advance. And through that process, we saw another step in getting women involved, and she kept pushing that women should be part of elections and women should virtually come out and contest. And that was personally the first time I said, okay, if they're serious, I will come out and contest. And that's when I threw in the towel during their period. I didn't win the elections there, but that was my first jump in, because we got that encouragement to have women participate. Then after her period, we now didn't have first ladies that were pushing the issues. Now we had women themselves, individually in their respective sectors, like the Honorable Minister in Plateau, pushing to be part of the governance. And when the key to getting the confidence to be part of anything is really education, exposure. The disadvantage that women have when we're growing, we're not taught to be team players. We're raised as individuals. Now, men are taught to be team players, hence the masculine games, football and things like that. So men group together to form things. And in that setting, you find that, you know, the skills of giving into dissenting voice, fighting but not fighting to the end, and resolution. There are many skills that you acquire as being a team player, being in form of a team group. That's where the Honorable Minister was mentioning, if I got her correctly, that we're trying to get women more into teamwork.
Team players.
So when you're used to teamwork, then you don't have this PhD syndrome, pull her down syndrome. And once we get that right, we will see the competition, the competitiveness. I must say, we couldn't get this far without the men.
Okay,
honestly.
Thank you. Now that you've talked about getting far, Kiran has mentioned some conventions, but let me look at the multilateral framework. That's the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325, which gave, certain pillars, platforms, of implementation. And basically, the responsibility falls squarely on lawmakers, to integrate, domesticate such laws, so that women will have the power to begin to, not just to contribute to, to nation building, but also, to have a voice, yes, to have a say. Sorry, distinguished. I just want to get, because you have been at the National Assembly, I want to get the mentality of the lawmakers. There was a particular lawmaker, I think maybe 7th or 8th Assembly, that stood up, during one of the plenaries and said, if you give a woman 50%, if you give a woman so percent, Mr. Speaker, the women will rise up and take every position. Is that the mentality of the lawmakers we have?
No. Don't forget, the legislators come from different parts of the society, and they come with their different cultural experiences to the assembly. And that is why it's called an assembly, where you will come with your ideas. These are the issues, debate it, and in imputing your own experience and ideas, he just brought his own experiences and fears, which he was brave enough to say, because many men have those fears, but they don't voice it. Now, when one person voices it, we now take exception to him, but that's the underlying fear. All women need to do is to alleviate that. Make sure you reassure the men. I will share this with you. When I first came into the National Assembly, I ran as the Deputy Senate President. And that was 1999. And if I can take you back to 1999, that's 20 years ago. We didn't even have toilets for women in the assembly. They were not expecting women to come. And here we are, women, 3 of us. So I had to commandeer one of the male toilets for the women. But it was an affront to see a woman in this high office that is meant for the men. So then the biggest affront is she's running for the top position as well. So one pushed the boundaries. And the reaction was, no, we're not ready to go with you. So I got votes, but not the majority to get the seat. But as the years went by, and during interaction, their perception changed.
Yes.
Because they now saw that women can actually think this way, push this way, and be like men. So that's how we were able to get the speaker.
Distinguished, let's pause it there. If we have the time, we'll come back to you. I want other people to also make contributions. Now to Ebere Ifendu, the women's rights activist. This celebration revolves around Awareness Day, Women and Girls Day, Sexism Day, and Anti-Discrimination Day. Can we now explore the theme of this year's International Women's Day, which is each for equal?
That's it. Yes, thank you very much, Kirian. But before I talk about this, I just want to say something about women not supporting women, because it's something that keeps coming up every time. And the truth is that it's only in politics that people say that. We have market women who support themselves. We have neighborhood kind of living, even at home, where a woman is rushing to the hospital, to the market or somewhere, and she leaves her child with the
August meeting as well.
August meeting also. So you have seen that it's only in politics. And this is happening because politics is a male-dominated, kind of, I don't want to call it a profession, it's because it's really not a profession. Exactly. But the truth is that they have set the standard. And then they keep, putting out the rules. They have made women to think that naturally we're not supposed to be seen there. And so we need a lot of orientation. My big sister talked about a woman that contested for presidential elections and that she got only her ticket. That was a delegate's election. And then in politics, even as women, we want to play by the rules of politics. You have to reach out to delegates before you can convince them and get votes from them. And so a situation where you just come out because you're a woman without, bringing out those issues that will make people to trust you, then it becomes a problem. Our distinguished senator said in 1999, getting to the Senate, the first thing she did was to contest for Deputy Senate President. She got votes. You heard what she said. I got votes, but not enough to make it. So she was able to convince people who voted for her. And that's what politics is about. So not that we don't like ourselves, not that we don't support ourselves. And then getting back to your question, we said that this 25th anniversary of the Beijing conference, that we'll be handing over to the younger people, dragging the younger ones to be part of what we are doing. We need different voices. So the equality thing we are talking about is actually to have more inclusion of the younger people, of persons living with disabilities, of men also supporting what we are doing. The minister talked about male champions yesterday who came out to support our cause. And this is because we have changed the dynamics. We have stopped the idea of, calling ourselves to a room to talk about what men are doing and what they are not doing. Now we have, taken it a step further, getting the men involved, let them understand us from our own perspective, and then bring in their own ideas and to support our cause. So you see that we are doing, very well this time. And it's a pity that the conference, like usually we hold in New York, will not be taking place this time. But I thank our Honorable Minister who says there's going to be a Nigerian version of it, and that will give us an opportunity.
Okay, we'll talk about that, but we want to fasten our conversation. The time is going. So, comrade, again, let's look at the theme. Kieran has raised that, which we said is each for equal. I just want to know exactly, because some time ago we were asking for equity. Now we are talking for equality. How does each for equal, translate to individual collectivism? I don't understand. Can you break that down for us? Let the men understand what exactly we are asking.
Okay, actually, each for equal is the campaign theme for this year's International Women's Day. The theme is Generation Equality, realizing women's rights.
Equality is the key word.
Yeah, gender equality. That is the key word.
So what do we mean by that? Before we're talking about equity.
Yeah.
We were saying, look, we are not asking for equality because, let's face it.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
Yeah.
Can we ever, get that? Can we ever get equal standing with the men?
It's possible.
Is it feasible?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
It's possible.
It's possible.
With time.
It's possible.
Explain, how is it possible?
Okay, now it is possible because that is exactly what we are working towards. You understand? We're getting the government, everyone, to understand why there is need for us to fight for gender equality. And even though we are not getting the response we should get from all quarter, but I tell you that it is possible.
So is it equality in terms of, okay, in this studio now, we have 3 men, we have 3 women.
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 men, we have 4 women.
4 women. We get paid for the same value of work. Yeah, we get the same, voice with the men, and what have you.
Okay, let's get to Bukola Shikirian. You want to ask questions?
Yes,
how do we achieve that?
I wanted to bring in, before we go to Bukola, I want to bring in Madam Deborah. Madam, you were talking about equality. Our guest has said it is possible to get that. But, Western Europe currently, has the highest gender parity globally, and it's about 76.7%. Right? These are developed nations, right? And if you're talking about equality in developing countries, of course, you have raised some issues that are actually not making it really easy for you to get that. Some encumbrances along the line of doing that, but of course we appreciate the efforts women are making currently. Madam Deborah, going forward, what is there again for women to do in this climb, to ensure that they move ahead, at least they will move to up to 70% of parity or gender parity in terms of appointments, in terms of education, in terms of opportunity, political or otherwise?
Thank you very much. There's something you said just now that always plays out when you have men with women being condescending. Oh, you guys are trying very hard. You are doing very well. That's condescending. And that seems to cut across a patriarchal society. As I said before, when you look in terms of population, I don't have the statistics, but I think women are more than men.
That's not been proven anyway.
Okay, good. And if you are more than men, and we are still struggling to get to leadership positions, then there's a problem. I agree. I was going through this International Women's Day on the internet, and what informed the United Nations giving us a particular day. And I read through all the conferences we've had, which Kirian has referred to. And I find that it is all an attempt to make women more assertive, more accepted as people that are made in the image of God. I'm talking from the religious perspective. We are all made by God. And then they say the theme is equal for what?
Each for equal.
Each for equal. Physiologically, we cannot be the same as men. And I'm talking to us as a pastor. Physiologically, you can never become a man. Women are unique. We have the sixth sense, and that's why a man that doesn't listen to the woman has made a major mistake, a major blunder, because ultimately you find that the ideas, the advice the woman gave would have been the best. We are unique. And I want us to maintain that uniqueness instead of say equality. I agreed with the equity that if you have 3 women here, you must have 3 men here. That's equity. Good. So when you say we want to be equal with men, physiologically you cannot be equal with men. Women are vulnerable. That's why we talk about violence. Violence against women, violence against the girl child. Because
but is it not a situation that makes them vulnerable?
Yeah, it's
physiologically they're not vulnerable. They're not created to be vulnerable. It's situation, conditions that places them in that condition.
It has been the cultural prism that men tend to look at women. If we get back to many years back, although this is changing in many societies, if you think back, there's a cultural prism that men look at women. That brings about the condescending aspect of when men are talking to you. It's okay. Let's give them a chance because they consider that it is their own right. At any point in time, they think it's their right. And so if they give a chance to a woman, let's help them.
Okay, so Madam Akam, you don't believe in equality. For you, it should be equity. Is that what you're saying? Just yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's equity, because we can never be equal to men because we are made differently.
Okay.
We are wired differently.
Okay, let's bring in Bukola Onyushi in Jos. Bukola, I'm sure you're listening into the conversation, and I'd just like for you to also share your view about the equality and equity thing, because I'm asking, what exactly are we asking for? Beijing said 35% affirmative. Now I think we are taking it up higher to probably 50-50, equality, 50-50. But if you look at developed societies, I mean, in the U.S. just this morning, Elizabeth Warren, dropped out of the race, presidential race, and she complained of sexism. She complained of money politics. The same thing with former Hillary Clinton. So, in the face of it all, is it feasible to have, gender equality?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Gender equality has been an ongoing debate, and from the grassroots point of view, once again I come. Let me share with you some stories that I've seen in the field, working with women at the grassroots, that maybe would buttress that point. So, a family that are farmers, they go farming, they till the ground, they plant, it's time for harvest, and then from tilling the ground to harvest time, it involves the woman and the man. When it's time to sell off the produce, the woman is put to the background. She's denied that, regardless of her investments, even if she has brought in some money into that, regardless of that, she's denied 100%, except for perhaps from time to time meals for the house. So what do we call that? For me, that in itself, it's a form of violence that should not be encouraged. And for the man in question, he needs to be educated, because if everybody, we are all human beings, male or female, we are all human beings. If everybody is treated right, and then we can all have a sane environment. We can all have an environment that makes each person appreciate each other, each person also be willing and ready to support each other. So gender equality, gender equity, they are terminologies, but in the real sense of it, in the practical sense of it, there are things that it should not be. If we treat each other right, and if we have that fundamental thing that each religion teaches, love for each other. Thank you.
All right, ladies, I want to align myself with what Madam Deborah said, when she noted emphatically that, look, we don't have to negate the biblical and Quranic injunction when it comes to the status of women from creation. It's not as if we're not interested in allowing women to get to a level where they'll be competing effectively and efficiently, among men. But the thing is, we have been given responsibilities by God in the first instance, right? And
what does the Quran say about women equality?
Please, you might go further into the details, but I know that God placed women where they should be, and we must play our own role as men as well to ensure that we utilize women. They have capacity. They are special creation. I agree with that totally, right? But for the purpose of this conversation, equality perhaps is not necessarily possible, globally speaking. For now, let's take a short break. When we get back, we'll continue with the conversation. Stay with us.
My name is Balaunti. I'm the Managing Director of Petroleum Product Marketing Company, a subsidiary of NNPC. There are significant price discrepancy between Nigeria and its neighbors across Africa. There's a discrepancy of between 150 to 250 naira. That creates an incentive for arbitrage, whereby smuggling triumphed by taking petroleum product across the neighbor so that it can be sold at higher price. While the smugglers are making the money, Nigeria is paying for it. And that payment is distorting everything that we do in terms of planning, in terms of our ability to fund, and thereby taking money that is meant for development. The introduction of this Operation White will have a reduction of close to 6 million liters on a daily basis, which if you take an average of 150, translate to a saving of over 1 billion naira every day. That is the benefit of Operation White, and we have started seeing the great benefit.
Move now! The red light won't kill you! Move now!
To dey disobey traffic law, they cause accidents. Me, I don't talk, say I no go dey do am again, because change begins with me.
Of the road. I will no longer endanger my life crossing the express. Instead, I will use the bridge because change begins with me.
Oga driver, stop this bus now, won't come down. I be one carry me pass where they go.
Make I dey stop anyhow for road, they cause traffic wahala and accidents. So I go dey stop for the right bus stop because change begins with me.
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, welcome back. If you've just joined in, this is Good Morning Nigeria, and we are having a very, very interesting conversation. Of course, it does when we are talking about women issues. We've got quite a number of tweets, as you can see. They've come in torrents. And let me quickly take Chris Simeon. You say women are the mouthpiece of every society. True. Therefore, they should be given proper orientation. True. Quality education. Thumbs up. They should also be allowed to contribute their own quota in nation building by giving them a chance to participate in policy and decision-making that will stir up development and bring advancement in every sphere of our society. This Chris Simeon must be a he for she?
Definitely.
All right.
Now, Festus Kimber says, aside seeing women as mothers, which is great, I want to see women in boardrooms as chief executives and as presidents and state governors.
All right, and Umar Musa Usman, women do contribute in the development of a nation, no doubt. But in a country like Nigeria, that virtually all the people are they are hardened, women can only contribute their own quota. But I don't think they can, by themselves, make Nigeria to be, well, this is his opinion.
Matawa David Bullis, cultural affiliations are great threats. Another threat is women's lack of confidence in themselves. When Sarah Jibril contested for the post of president under PDP, despite the large number of women delegates, she got only one vote, perhaps hers.
All right, Law Alpha, it's unfortunate that the system does not recognize women as being able to play beyond the second fiddle in the scheme of things in this climb, but the future will favor them as many are determined to impress.
Comrade Adeniro, the role of women in nation building cannot be overemphasized. However, the patriarchal nature of the Nigerian society has caged them, but they yet are making waves in spite of this.
And Biodun Shegun Afolabi tweets, where does tradition place women? Do they believe in the ability to offer good governance and social justice? There is need to remind ourselves that, and he quotes, women build the man and the community, unquote. A noble society is a reflection of their women. Let's build and support our women.
Tatos Mondayok, he says, what happened to the Beijing Declaration as the platform for action that took place in 1995, where 189 countries, including Nigeria, were in attendance? Most of the affirmative actions have been thrown away by successive governments.
All right, and Bedamasi Haruna Adamu tweets, since they nurture conceive babies, if given the opportunity, they can also solve our problems politically, economically, and what have you. What's restricting them is lack of motivation, democratization of governance to accommodate them, and intimidation from the populace.
Mike Anyakwa says women's roles are no longer in the kitchen. QED. We have a lot of women professionals in all fields of endeavor. In other climes, like in Europe, women have been given opportunities as prime ministers and presidents of countries, and they carried out duties without utmost diligence, dedication, and patriotism.
And of course, Chris Timion again reminds us of Queen Elizabeth, Theresa May, and Ellen Johnson, Sirleaf, all great women who have impacted and transformed their societies. But Bashiru tweets, some key factors that constitute a barrier to women's contribution to national development include some of the issues that we have raised: patriarchal nature of our society, motherhood, work-life balance, violent nature of Nigerian politics, sexism, money politics, lack of conscious policies to encourage gender balance.
All right, Delajak Solomon, the social, political, economic, and cultural systems have caused the Nigerian women to be isolated, to lack initiative and innovation. More proactive actions are therefore needed to ensure gender parity in education through special girl child education, scholarships, and effective implementation of policies and programs geared towards enhancing their welfare.
All right, Sani Marco G, politics is dominated by men. Why? He says, because women do not have the heart to sponsor thuggery, violence, and all forms of manipulation to win elections. If we want our women to have a place in national development, we must de-emphasize politics of hooliganism and encourage gender mainstreaming.
Yerima Alaji Hamza, Nigerian women subjected themselves to becoming second-class citizens. However, if government and society will encourage them, they will perhaps change their attitude for better.
And Francis Obi again reminds us of women who have impacted our national development. He mentions some names: Queen Amina, Ransom Kuti, and of course Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Amina Mohammed, and so many others he has mentioned. Comrade Ngala, you have it?
Yeah, Comrade Ngala, no woman, no nation. They are the backbone of national development, but their participation in politics is very low.
And this is an interesting one. Abdul too says, Kyrian, in the mix of strong women looking up and down, we need women to be the great nation.
All right, that's how I found myself this morning. You know, Cecilia Okoroma, I beg of you all that even in the course of fighting for recognition of our rights in national development, let's not forget to invest our quality time in giving our children good home training. Very, very good point you've made. The rate of moral decadence in Nigeria of today is alarming. We must stand up to correct the so much ills facing us as we struggle to be recognized in governance. I congratulate our lovely dogged mothers there. That's from a lady.
Cecilia Okoroma, thank you. Mohammed Ibrahim again says, women, it's high time women stopped seeing men as source of their collective impediment. They should look inwards and take advantage of their numerical strength.
Oh yes, Amon says the father, as the decision-making figure in the household, has to make himself available to the girl child because this will help build the mindset of that girl child. For instance, my father has nurtured me from 9 months up to now without a mother figure.
All right, and the last
That's
one
a
is
great
coming
father.
from, Gbola of Babs, and we've seen women make considerable changes in administrative jurisprudence as well as political development, but that's not to say some of them have not been found wanting too, of course. However, our policymakers should do more to allow for women participation. Thank you, all of you, for your tweets. Let's quickly take closing comments. Please make it very brief and short. We'll start with the Honorable Minister. So how do we go? What plans do we have to achieve the equality we're talking about?
Thank you very much. There's a framework, and the framework is one, the girl child education, which is key. The second thing, parents must treat the girl child and the boy equally. The boy and the girl must be in school. Gone are the times that the girl will be kept at home to cook, clean the house, go to the stream, fetch water, and keep it while the boys go to school, and when they come back, the girls serve them.
I'm sure you have your framework to achieve that.
That's right.
Okay.
So we have to ensure that parents treat their children equally, and both the boy and the girl must be in school. Education is the right of every child.
Okay.
It is compulsory. And then secondly, we must ensure that women must make sure that they give confidence to their husbands, and the way you treat your husband, particularly those in office, goes a long way.
Okay, ma'am.
To impact on to get their support.
Okay.
We must clear the mindset of men, because that fear, just like the single Senator Hirat said, there is that fear. Women must make sure that we allay those fears.
Okay.
Well,
we are not competing with the men. Our roles are complementary.
If there is fear, men like me do not have that fear, because I believe in women, what they can do. But I also need them to understand that a man is always a man. He's the head, however you look at it, okay? And so for life to go on properly, that has to be respected. Senator Kairat, your closing remarks.
Well, I agree that in the household, the men at the head of the house, they must be respected. Once you step out to be part of development of a nation, wherever you find yourself as a woman, you must respect the order of the place, bring in your positivity and not negativity. You must impact positively, because a successful woman in position changes the minds of millions.
Okay. Ebere, what is happening at the moment? What are your plans?
Yeah, for me, I think basically what we need most is legislation. So we need a National Assembly to look at the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill. We need the Electoral Act to be amended. We also are asking for powers for INEC to be able to sanction political parties who do not live up to their responsibilities. I mean, especially living up to their legal documents. We have affirmative action inscribed in all the constitutions, and then when they bring the list of candidates, we don't find women. So we are looking at legislation. For me, it's legislation.
All right. Madam Deborah, talk from the point of view of your religious background, because women these days, when a man is a pastor or somebody is a pastor, women fall for it. Whatever he says, they do. They go ahead doing that. And that has also destabilized some families.
Thank you, Kieran. But that statement is not absolutely correct. It's not that when a man is a pastor, everybody falls for what he says. It's not correct.
So
because there are many women that are distinguished pastors as well. But talking from my own perspective as a pastor, and in my women group, we are deliberate in grooming our women to make impact in the society. Raising them holistically, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and setting platforms for them to excel. The platforms include skill acquisition, because we believe that if a woman is empowered financially, she can stand up in the society. The problem we have is that many women are subsistence farmers, and they don't have the wherewithal to come out among the men folk to be assertive, because culturally they're put down.
Okay. Comrade, so in the workplace, what is happening? How are you taking up this challenge quickly?
Yeah, the ratification of the ILO Convention 190 is going to go a long way in ensuring our participation.
What does that seek?
Elimination of violence, harassment in the world of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, country director, Women for Women International, Bukola Onyishi, who is in Jos. Your closing thoughts on the conversation?
Well, I would say that closing the gap between the national and the grassroots is very important and should be invested in. Thank you.
Of course, we have the Honourable Minister here. So, Honourable Minister, against the International Women's Day, which is on Sunday, what are your messages or message to Nigerian women?
My message to Nigerian women is that the struggle continues. We will not give up. And I can see light at the end of the tunnel. There's hope for Nigerian women because let's start from the national level. The president is getting it right. Although the number of women in the Federal Executive Council is insignificant, but watch and see. He has given key positions to the female ministers. He has confidence. He has given, the Minister of Finance is a woman, and she's making this country proud. Zainab stands out, and the president is confident. That will go a long way to change his perception and get more women. The head of service is a woman. She was sworn in again after acting position for some months, just 2 days ago. That again will go a long way to change the perception. Yes. Look at other positions. Minister of State, Trade and Investment, Minister of State, Environment, Minister of State, FCT, and the humanitarian and myself. These are key strategic positions that touches the lives of every Nigerian. He knows how strategic women are, and that's why. And the impact, our performance will go a long way to change the perception and give more opportunities for women. At the state level, I told you, some governors are getting it right, and they are already speaking. They are the he for she. The governor of Kwara stands out. The governor of Lagos stands out. The governor of Kaduna stands out.
The governor of Enugu as well.
The governor of Enugu. Name it. So many governors. Sokoto, Kano, Plateau. Name it. All these governors is like a wildfire now. They are seeing and because the strategic position and the performance of these women in various sectors will now create more opportunities for women. Martin Luther had a dream, and the dream comes true. That dream will surely come true.
All right, ma'am.
Because we are making progress.
Thank you,
and
indeed.
I thank the president, I thank all the governors and the chairman at local government. They are getting it right. More women, better Nigeria.
All right, Ma, thank you very much. As a matter of fact, Dame Pauline Tarling is a typical example of a woman that has made it to the top in this country. You have held several positions, and I want to appreciate you for that. And I believe that many more women, will get into her shoes, So at this point, we would like to appreciate all of you for your wonderful contributions. You have all intimidated me here. But let me just take it that way. Let me take it that way. Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, of Women and National Development, Women Affairs, yes, Dame Pauline Tarling, thank you indeed. Minister of Women Affairs, thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. Senator Kairat Gwadabe of the FCT, Senator representing FCT 1999 to 2003. It's been wonderful sharing your experience, this morning. Thank you indeed. And of course, Comrade Afusatu Shoaibu, Chairperson Union of Women Congress of Nigeria. We appreciate you as well. Yeah, Claire.
Yes, Ebere Ifendo, of course, President Women in Politics. Thank you very much for joining us as always. And Madam Deborah M.M. Akan, who is, of course, Hope Waddell Training Institution in Calabar, Cross River State, and you're also an educationist. Thank you very much, Mark, for finding time to join us today. And not forgetting, I almost forgot, I'm sorry, Bukola Onyishi, Country Director, Women for Women International, Nigeria. Many thanks to you, and do have a lovely day. I hope Jos is cool. All right, thank you, everyone. That's Good Morning Nigeria for today. And Kiran, I'd just like to thank the CP, that's the Commissioner of Police, FCT. Yesterday night, I had an incident, and he responded, swiftly. That's the road along Yanya Karo axis. But I'd like to appreciate him and also ask him to deploy more policemen on that axis. There are bad boys springing on that axis. Just as you proceed beyond the Mogadishu barrack and entering to the military checkpoint, it's becoming a very dangerous route for travelers. All right, see you next week, all of you. By God's grace, I am Claire Dilabwa.
And I'm Kiran Umayo. Have a great weekend.